Hey there, comic collectors. Look, we all love hunting for the next big key issue, but sometimes your wallet's screaming louder than your want list. That's why today we're counting down 10 awesome comics that you can snag for $20 or less. Whether you're looking for first appearances, offbeat gems, or undervalued classics, this list proves you don't have to break the bank to build a killer collection. So stick around, because the next book might just be your next pickup. Let's get to it. Kicking things off at number 10 is a bite-sized issue from one of the wildest indie series of the 2000s. You might say this pick is a mouthful. It's issue number 8 from Image Comics, which was published in January 2010. This book comes from the twisted minds of writer John Layman and artist Rob Guillory, and if you haven't read Chew, you're missing out on one of the most bizarre and fantastic crime stories in all of comics. The series follows Tony Chu, who is a Sebopath, which is somebody who gets psychic impressions from whatever they eat. That's right, eat an apple, know the orchard. Eat a murder victim, solve the case. Issue number 8 is part of the International Flavor arc and continues Tony's globetrotting food crime adventures. It's a perfect example of how Layman's offbeat storytelling and Guillory's animated cartoonish art come together in ways that feel like a fever dream crossed with Law & Order Special Victims Unit, but the culinary division. The best part about this issue is that it's the first appearance of Poyo, a weapon of mass destruction in chicken form. It's just as crazy as it sounds, but I promise you it is equal parts hilarious and absurd. Chew still has strong cult status, and there's been talk of adaptations, whether that's an animated series, live action, you name it. And the best part, you can grab Chew number 8 in high-grade condition for around $14 on average right now. So if you're trying to round out the run or just want a book that's unlike anything else in your collection, sink your teeth into this one. At number 9 is a book that's part Canadian Super Team, part Mutant Milestone, because this issue is quietly tied to a major X-Men moment. We're talking about Alpha Flight number 33, published by Marvel in April 1986. The story, A Friend in Need, was written by Bill Mantlo and penciled by Sal Buscema, with the issue's cover coming from Mike Mignola. This issue is notable for featuring the first appearance of Lady Death as a cyborg. She'd appeared earlier as Yuriko Oyama, but this is when she undergoes the procedure that turns her into the adamantium-clawed assassin that we'd all come to know, especially through her rivalry with Wolverine, because if you got two people with adamantium pokies, you pit them against each other. Lady Deathstrike would go on to become a major player in the X-Men universe, appearing in cartoons, games, and even in X2 X-Men United on the big screen. And this is where her deadly new form debuts in the comics. The story is tightly paced with that mid-80s Marvel style, and it's aged fairly well. If you're collecting key X-Men related issues on a budget, this thing should definitely be on your list. Raw high-grade copies are currently selling in the $10 to $15 range, which is super affordable for a character-defining moment with ties to one of the most popular mutants in comics. Landing at number 8 is a book that rises from the grave with style. If horror's your thing, then this one's a real treat. Pumpkinhead, The Rites of Exorcism number 1 was released by Dark Horse Comics in 1993, written by Gary Girani with art from Sean McManus. This book is a direct continuation of the cult horror film Pumpkinhead, which was directed by special effects legend Stan Winston in 1988. While the original movie told a tale of revenge summoned through a demonic creature, this comic series expands the mythology of the character and the cursed rituals surrounding it. Issue 1 kicks off a 2-part miniseries that delves deeper into the lore of Pumpkinhead and the twisted rules that govern its summoning. The story is steeped in Southern Gothic atmosphere, and it reads like a blend of folk horror and backwoods supernatural thriller. If you like your comics dark, moody, and filled with moral consequences, this series, delivers in spades. Despite being the first comic book appearance of Pumpkinhead, this issue still flies under the radar, but for horror fans, this is a cult classic in comic form. And with horror properties gaining renewed interest from both collectors and other media, it's not out of the question that this series could see a spike in interest if a new Pumpkinhead film or TV project gets announced. High-grade raw copies have recently been selling for $8 to $10, and that's a bargain for a creepy first appearance like this. It's perfect for rounding out a horror section in your collection, or just adding some demonic flair to your long boxes. Number 7 brings us face to face with a villain who can copy your every move, because this issue is Taskmaster's shadowy debut. Avengers 195, published in May 1980 by Marvel Comics, was written by David Michelinie with art from George Perez, who's one of the most celebrated Avengers artists of all time. This issue is a bit of a forgotten gem, largely because it features the very first cameo appearance of the Taskmaster, one of the more unique villains in Marvel's Rogues Gallery, while the following issue, with the character's first full appearance, tends to get most of the attention. In this issue, the Avengers investigate a mysterious training academy for henchmen. Yeah, Marvel had its own evil version of a trade school for goons. While most of the story focuses on uncovering the sinister organization behind it, the last page delivers a twist. A cloaked figure with a skull mask watches from the shadows. That figure? Taskmaster, making his first cameo appearance just before his full debut in the next issue. Taskmaster has gone on to be a recurring player across multiple titles thanks to his photographic reflexes, a skill that allows him to instantly mimic any physical movement that he sees. Whether he's going toe-to-toe with Captain America, Spider-Man, or Deadpool, he's always a threat and a fan favorite. He even made his way into the MCU in the Black Widow movie, and they regularly appear in Marvel video games and cartoons. The art in this issue is classic Perez. It's detailed, energetic, and full of personality. It captures that early 80s Avengers dynamic perfectly. You got big characters, big action, and a looming threat in the background. Right now, raw high-grade copies of Avengers 195 are selling between $15 and $20. Some are higher, some are lower. But for a cameo from a villain with this much cultural crossover, that's pretty much a steal. It's a fantastic pickup for Marvel collectors, Avengers fans, or anybody who likes a villain who can hit back exactly the way you did. Coming in at number 6, this issue marks a turning point and a handoff as one lantern steps down and another one steps into the light. Published in November 1984, Green Lantern 182 was written by Len Wein with art from Dave Gibbons, the same artist who would go on to co-create The Watchmen just a couple of years later. This issue marks a major transitional moment in Green Lantern lore. Hal Jordan quits the Corps and John Stewart becomes the official Green Lantern of Sector 2814. Now, while John Stewart technically first appeared in Green Lantern 87, this is the moment he officially takes on the mantle full-time. And that makes Green Lantern 182 a key turning point. Especially with John becoming a more prominent character in the DC Universe, the story itself deals with Hal's increasing disillusionment with the Guardians and his desire to reconnect with life on Earth. He resigns, handing over his power ring, and the Guardians don't hesitate. They immediately select John as his successor. The art in this issue is clean and polished, with Gibbons bringing emotional depth to the characters and a real sense of cosmic scale to the settings. It's a bridge between the wild Bronze Age of Green Lantern and the more character-driven storytelling of the late 80s and beyond. Raw, high-grade copies are regularly selling in that $10 to $15 range at the moment, and for a book that cements John Stewart's place in the mythos, that's a pretty great entry point, whether you're looking to build out that John Stewart run or to just get ahead of a possible bump in value when maybe he shows up on the screen again. Number 5 pits Claw against Quip in a comic that's part team-up, part tragedy, and totally unforgettable. Spider-Man vs. Wolverine number 1 hit shelves in February 1987. Written by Jim Owsley, better known today as Christopher Priest, with artwork from Mark Bright. In addition to a pretty intense cover, this one-shot is a sleeper hit packed with character moments, espionage action, and lasting consequences. Set largely in Germany, the story follows Peter Parker and Logan as they both pursue the same target, albeit for very different reasons. The tone is darker than your typical Spidey adventure, and Wolverine's presence ensures the stakes feel deadly right from the start, because Logan don't play around. What begins as a reluctant team-up spirals into a moral conflict that ends in a hauntingly tragic moment. Spider-Man basically is forced to kill somebody. It's a line that he rarely crosses, and it makes this issue one of the most emotionally complex stories in Spidey's history. But there's more. This comic also features the death of Ned Leeds, longtime Daily Bugle reporter and, at the time, the man Marvel was teasing as the Hobgoblin. His death would go on to reshape the Hobgoblin mythos for years. It's a key piece of the puzzle for 80s Spider-Man continuity, and it rarely gets the spotlight it deserves. The art in this book is moody and it's grounded. Mark Bright leans into the shadows while the cover grabs attention with that bold clash between the two title characters. Copies in high-grade condition have been recently selling in the $15 to $20 range, and that's a great deal for a book with real emotional weight, an iconic cover, and significant continuity implications. It's not just a fight comic, it's a moment that lingers. Sliding into the number 4 spot is a funny animal comic you didn't know you needed, and in fact, you may not even know it exists. Critters number 3 was published by Fantagraphics in 1986, part of their anthology-style series focused on anthropomorphic or funny animal comics. Now, I know what you're thinking, but don't tune out just yet. This unassuming indie book contains an early appearance of Usagi Yojimbo, one of the most beloved and enduring indie comic characters of all time. Created by Stan Sakai, Usagi is a samurai rabbit in a feudal Japan populated by anthropomorphic animals. His stories blend historical fiction, folklore, and Bushido philosophy with crisp, clean storytelling and deeply emotional narratives. While he'd later headline his own series and cross paths with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Critters number 3 is a fun early Usagi appearance, with a pretty decent cover. Any Usagi cover is a pretty good one, honestly. The art is black and white, but don't let that fool you. Sakai's storytelling is clear, it's cinematic, and it's full of personality, which is why Usagi is one of the standout characters of the black and white indie boom of the 1980s. Fantagraphic print runs were fairly low, and Critters has always flown under the radar even amongst some indie collectors. But with Usagi's Netflix animated series and a long history of crossover appeal, this book is worth a little attention. Right now, raw, high-grade sales are between $10 and $15, and for an early story of an indie comics icon, that's shockingly affordable. If you love creator-owned indie comics, this one may deserve a place in your collection. At number 3, we take a swing through Hell's Kitchen for a Bronze Age baddie who's way more than just a circus act. Cover dated January 1977, Daredevil 141 was written by Jim Shooter and Marv Wolfman, with art by Gil Kane and Bob Brown, and a cover from the great Dave Cockrum. This issue features the third appearance of Bullseye, who is one of Daredevil's greatest villains, and a character who would go on to play a defining role in Matt Murdock's most brutal story arcs. While Bullseye first appeared in issue 131, this issue helped establish his ruthlessness and sharpen his identity as more than just another throwaway villain. He's deadly accurate, he's obsessive, and totally unpredictable. And over time, he becomes more than just a physical threat, he becomes a psychological one. The Bronze Age Daredevil run doesn't get a lot of credit, and for good reason, but this issue is a great example of that sweet spot where Marvel was experimenting with darker, more grounded storytelling even before Frank Miller showed up. Art-wise, Kane and Brown bring a dynamic, classic feel to the book, and Shooter and Wolfman's writing gives both Bullseye and Daredevil emotional weight. It's not yet the noir tone that Miller would bring, but you can see the seeds that are being planted. You can currently pick up a copy in VF range condition for around $15 to $20, making this a strong value for a book with both historical and character significance, and it's much cheaper than that first appearance on 131. Bullseye, of course, has already appeared in live action on the big screen, and also in Netflix and Disney Plus's Daredevil shows, and it looks like we haven't seen the end of him, as he's slated to come back for Born Again Season 2 whenever that comes up. Taking the silver medal at number 2 is a book that blends style and substance and helped define Batman for an entire generation of fans. Batman Adventures number 1 was released in October 1992 and was written by Kelly Puckett with art from Ty Templeton and Rick Burchett. The cover is by the legendary Ty Templeton, and it captures the sleek, noir-inspired aesthetic of Batman the Animated Series, the groundbreaking cartoon that debuted the same year as the book. The series exists in the same continuity as the animated show, and this first issue is the perfect companion piece. While Harley Quinn doesn't show up until issue 12, this debut still stands out as a major entry point for younger readers of the era, and now even for nostalgic collectors. The art and storytelling reflect the show's tone. It's clean, smart, and moody without being overly grim. Batman here isn't just a vigilante, he's a detective, a hero, and sometimes even a tragic figure. It's an ideal balance of accessible storytelling and rich character work. Batman Adventures number 1 has seen fluctuating prices lately, with high-grade raws selling anywhere between $10 on the low end, upwards of $20, depending on timing and condition. And with the animated series still regarded as the definitive Batman for many fans, demand for this book probably isn't likely to disappear. So many of our great 90s superhero cartoons had accompanying comic series that are underappreciated by most collectors. This series in particular does tend to get more attention than most, mostly due to the Harley Quinn debut several issues later. So whether you're a diehard Bat fan or just love great storytelling in an animated style, this is a fantastic book to scoop up under the $20 mark. And topping our list at number 1, we head into the cosmic unknown for the lead up to the debut of a World Eater's right-hand man. It's time to meet Fantastic Four 210. Cover dated September 1979, it was written by Marv Wolfman with pencils by John Byrne and cover art by Keith Pollard. This issue marks the second appearance of Herbie the Robot, and it's building towards the first appearance of Terrax the Tamer, a new herald of Galactus, in the following issue. This story is pure Bronze Age cosmic marvel. The Fantastic Four travel into space, they're trying to find Galactus, which makes the title of this story, In Search of Galactus, pretty on the nose. Wolfman's script blends cosmic grandeur with classic FF banter, and Byrne's art is already showing the dynamism that would define his Fantastic Four run a few years later. My favorite thing about FF 210 is the Pollard Galactus cover. Good Galactus covers can be few and far between, and a lot of times they can be pretty rough on the wallet too. Right now, raw high-grade copies hover in the $10 to $20 range, and that's a pretty good price for a decent Galactus book with some big name creators behind it. And it's a great way to round out this budget-friendly top 10 list with a villain who's anything but low tier. And there you have it, 10 comics under $20 that prove you can still find gold in the back issue bins without striking out on your budget. If you saw something you're going to hunt for, drop a comment and let me know which book made your list. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that you don't miss the next installment, as the big top 10 is just around the corner. And remember, collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next video.